Let's get started with our afternoon keynotes. Up first, we'll be hearing from Joanne Crevoiserat, CEO of Tapestry. Please welcome to the stage Joanne Crevoiserat, CEO of Tapestry. Joanne will be interviewed by Sara, Eisen, journalist at CNBC.
Joanne, it's great to talk to you, and it's good to be here again here at Shop Talk for the afternoon sessions. So Joanne and I started talking during the depths of COVID, via Zoom, probably. It was your transition from CFO to CEO.
That's correct.
And what's amazing, Joanne, is that the company looks so different than even that time in the last few years. What would you say is the biggest difference since you've taken over?
Wow, nothing's happened in that time, right? Nothing's happened in the last 3 years. I have the privilege of leading a great team and a company with 3 truly iconic brands. And I think that the biggest difference is that we've gotten really serious about brand building. And we have such great assets in our portfolio with Coach, Kate Spade, and Stuart Weitzman, 3 brands that are truly iconic. And we're investing behind brand building and creating more emotional connections with consumers, which today I think trumps everything. And we're all excited. There's a lot of passion and enthusiasm. And the customer and the space is moving so fast that it keeps us on our toes.
I hear you always talk about speed, the speed of the consumer, keeping up with the consumer. What does that mean, and how do you do that?
Well, the word of the last 3 years has been agility, right? You have to be agile to be able to respond to what's happening in the marketplace. And we've done a lot in our company to make sure that we can respond to all of the changes in the landscape that we're seeing and we've seen in the last few years. Some of it, we're fortunate to have a company that is 90% direct to consumer. So we have a lot of data in our company. We're a retail company. We always have a lot of data, but we can see trends as they're happening. But it's not just about understanding the trends, it's enabling the responsiveness that you need. And we've engineered our company to be more responsive. We're using new tools and technology. I think everybody in this conference is focused on tools and technology, but it's applying that technology within your business with speed and agility, which means you have to embed it in the hands of the decision makers in the organization. And that's been the focus of the last 3 years quite successfully.
What does that mean? What's an example?
So, I can take you through the value chain as we use technology and leverage technology, everything from the data analytics and consumer insights that we get. I'll give you an example. We have a dashboard. Everyone in our company has a dashboard to understand what product sells to which customers. And we do a lot of work, not only with our own data, but we field a lot of research on our consumers to understand what they value and why they're buying a product. That information is consumed by the people who are making our product. It's not in a lab with people with white coats and a PowerPoint presentation. It's consumed. We have just an enormous appetite to learn about our consumers. And when we bring the balance of this logic, what we call the balance of magic and logic, we bring these insights to our creative talent, and then they use that with their inspiration and creative inspiration to get products in the marketplace that the customer truly values.
So you're using AI to tell me what handbag I'm going to buy next season. Is that what you mean?
We know what consumers are responding to, and we're working very hard to leverage that information as we create the next innovation and product. So we're very focused on innovation and making sure that the people who are building our product or making decisions throughout our business have the benefit of that information and those tools and that technology.
So what are some of the key insights right now?
Well, consumers have shifted quite a bit, both in where they shop, how they shop, and what they value. And what we're seeing in this whole cycle through COVID and then beyond COVID, I'll call this the beyond COVID period, and optimistically thinking that we're all beyond COVID.
I hope so.
What we've seen is the consumer has changed where they shop. So they were shopping online when all of our stores were closed. They were shopping more for casual because they wanted comfort and casual. Then we saw a return to social occasion, right? And we were responding and delivering more product for dress. And now we're seeing a nice mix of the two. We see the consumer going out to more, we see the shift from goods to services. That means customers are going to restaurants more. I don't know if you've tried to get a restaurant reservation. They're hard to come by. So they're going to restaurants more, they're traveling more, and they're using our product in their travels. So understanding what's important to our consumer and when is what we're doing and how we're delivering great product and innovation into the market.
Are they still buying handbags and heels if we're not going to the office as much?
Well, we're seeing that evolve. And we're responding again because we're 90% direct to consumer. We see those trends happening as they happen. So it's not translated through a third party. And as we are able to respond, it's a little of both. They like versatility in dressing. So what they value is first a product that is crafted to last, and a product that can be versatile in multiple uses, both to the office or out after. And we obviously work hard to make sure we're meeting the consumer where they are.
You've also done a lot of work as far as elevating the brands, keeping price points pretty high, not doing as much promotions. Is this something the entire industry is doing, or you think you're differentiating yourself here?
Well, our focus, as I said, is moving at the speed of the consumer. And the first part, it really breaks down into three parts. The first is driving consumer engagement, which requires us to know about our consumer. The second we touched on is moving with speed and agility. And the third piece of that is really driving that engagement through omnichannel experiences. So if I go back to the first part of driving that deeper engagement with customers, knowing our customers, leveraging our data and our research to connect with consumers beyond just a product and a price. And this is how brands become resilient in any environment. We happen to play in categories, handbags, leather goods, and footwear that consumers have an emotional connection to these categories. But as brands, we want to develop that emotional connection to the brand to resonate to a consumer across their value set, not just for a transaction. We want to have deep relationships with customers so that we can drive a higher lifetime value and meet customers where they are in their shopping journey. And we are building more emotional outreach to consumers and leveraging data to know when to serve that outreach. I'll give you an example. We have a Tabby campaign going on right now with the Coach brand. And that campaign is, yes, about the Tabby product, which is terrific. It's an icon in the brand. But the campaign is about what I carry in my Tabby. And what we carry makes us stronger. So it reaches into the things that give us confidence, which aligns with Coach, that delivers confidence within the self-expression that young consumers are looking for. And so meeting the customer as they're discovering brands and engaging them beyond just the product, but to talk about the values of the brand and have that align with the values of the consumer, over time that creates the pricing power and the brand affinity that we need that drives pricing power.
You mentioned young people. I do wonder about Gen Z. Everybody's focused on it. It's the holy grail. Does Gen Z know Coach?
Absolutely. We are actually showing up in surveys, and for the people who do the rankings and ratings on these things, Coach is a very relevant brand. But Coach is a brand that resonates across generations. It is timeless in a way. It's an 80-year-old brand, and it has stood for crafted to last and a timeless confidence across the 80 years. And it's interesting as we do more research and develop marketing tools, techniques, and then product, really great innovative product that we're bringing into the marketplace. It's product that customer really recognizes as supporting what they want and their values. So I talked a little bit about the confidence. I hear more stories about Coach being the first bag that I got when I graduated from college, or I got a promotion and I bought a Coach bag, and I felt like I
Mine
made
was
it.
Kate Spade. Which
Okay,
is
and we can talk about Kate too, because Kate has unique purpose and values that customer is very passionate about. And so as we've done this research, we're leaning into that authentic. It has to be authentic with a brand, and we're leaning into that authentic heritage that Coach has, and also leaning into this customer's desire for self-expression. They don't want brands to tell them how to dress or how to style, and so this self-expression we're supporting, and it comes through in how we market the product and how we show the product and and how it shows up in their lives, and that is critically important to the younger consumer.
I was going to ask how you reach the younger consumer. Kim Kardashian, Stuart Weitzman. I mean, that helps probably, right?
Yeah, and we're very intentional about how we think about each customer segment and what resonates with them and how our brands and where our brands show up. We talk a lot about technology and the capabilities that we have, but the capabilities are only as good as how well we apply those to what's right for the brand and authentic and the target consumer and the audience. So we are using the technology, the marketing technology, the analytics to understand where our customers are, and then we can show up and meet them where they are.
What about celebrities in fashion and as spokespeople? Is that an authentic way to do it or not?
Well, we see the environment as a landscape, and we call it a constellation. We have a constellation approach to influencers and spokespeople. We do have celebrities who represent our brands, and they do so very well, and they have very, very big reach. So it is an important part of it. But then, you break it down, and there are social media influencers and musicians and sports stars, and there are people that create a constellation that have to be first authentic ambassadors for your brands, and they have to reach your target audience in an authentic way. So social media has become obviously important and more important. But what's really interesting? Over the last 3 years, we found some of the most passionate brand advocates are our own associates. And I would say that our associates are our secret weapon. They provide tremendous experience in our brick and mortar stores, which are all stores are still important. Stores matter, and they matter because the experience that our associates provide is second to none. These associates are brand ambassadors, they're passionate brand advocates. But what's been interesting, as they've become influencers of their own, they are reaching out on digital channels to engage with our customers. So that's a change that's happened in just the last few years. And they're styling the product in their own style. And that authenticity of styling our product and showing our product in a real, authentic way has been resonating with our consumers. We're actually putting that content on our websites, and it's some of our most engaged content.
Associates as stylists.
Exactly.
How is the store experience different now than pre-COVID?
Well, in many ways, I think we've all worked very hard to make sure that the experience that a customer has with our brands is consistent and seamless. And we're working hard to not think about channels as distinct things. In fact, our chief digital officer, his title has changed to chief omnichannel officer, because a customer doesn't think about a transaction they're making in a digital space or the transaction they're making in a physical store. They're thinking about a transaction with the brand and how they're engaging with the brand. So a lot of the work that we've done is to make sure we're meeting the customer on their journey and giving them the right content at the right time to connect with that journey. In our physical stores, I think we all started in COVID with, buy online, pick up in store, and some of those omni-channel capabilities. But the store is important for a touch and feel experience. And that we've seen customers come back into our stores and want to engage with the product directly. And we have, beautiful crafted to last leather product across our brands. Right? People want to come and engage with the product and with our associates, get styling tips for gift giving and those kinds of things. And there's nobody better than our associates in our stores.
You mentioned 90% direct to consumer.
90%.
Why not put more product into department stores or wholesale?
We made this pivot a number of years ago to move to be more direct-to-consumer. And, we like to own the experience with our customer. I would say, transactionally, it's great to have all that data because that data makes us better. It enables our brands to move quickly. And the customer, I think we titled this Moving at the Speed of the Consumer. We talk about that all the time at Tapestry. The consumer, as much as we'd like to say, the pandemic's over, we can go back to the old way, there's no going back. And the speed is only getting faster and faster. The consumer continues to move fast. So having that data and understanding of where the consumer is going, what they're reacting to real time is critically important to succeed and remain relevant with customers.
You've also got a pretty big brand presence and business in China. What are we seeing from that consumer right now?
Well, we're pleased to see that consumer coming back and engaging in brands, both in stores and also online. It's a very digitally centered customer, so they're very digitally engaged in China, and we learn a lot about consumer and consumer behavior and new tools and techniques from our business in China. We've been in the country for over 20 years with the Coach brand, very successful there as well with Stuart Weitzman's, pretty small right now with Kate Spade, but tremendous opportunity. And we see that consumer valuing our products and our brands. Our brands continue to rank as some of the top brands in the market, so the consumer still values the product and the innovation that we're bringing into the marketplace. Our brands target that middle-class consumer. That's a large cohort, and it's growing quickly. And so we're working hard to make sure that the brands in the market are relevant to the consumer by having local collaborations, getting inspiration with local design talent as well, so that we can stay relevant and stay ahead of where that customer is going. That customer is moving faster and faster. I mentioned the associate innovation, the associates reaching out on digital platforms and becoming social media influencers of their own. That started in China. That practice started in China, and we saw how well our associates were doing and how well they were styling our product and how the consumer was reacting to it. So we moved very quickly and brought that around the world.
So you do the local collaborations, because I was going to ask, does what works in China, what sells in China, work in the US, work in Europe, or do you have to think really hard about the geographies in terms of what you're putting out?
We do. We think about the consumer, and we are maniacally focused on the consumer, and the consumer in each market values different things. We bring an expression to the brand in each market with the flavor of that market. The brand is consistent, so that is critically important, that we continue to have consistency in what the brand values are and what the brand stands for, but the expression of that brand may change and may be a little bit different as we get to the market. And I'll use an example. In China, this past Lunar New Year, we did a collaboration with White Rabbit, which is a local candy brand. It's a beloved candy brand in the market, similar to Bazooka Joe maybe in the US. And people are very nostalgic about that candy brand. We did this White Rabbit collaboration with Coach in that market. And that was very well received, even as they were going through Lunar New Year, they were going through the COVID disruptions, and coming out of those COVID disruptions, that content was emotional, and they had that emotional reaction to the product.
And so much of it is buzz too, right? That you generate with some of these collaborations. How do you do that without missing?
Well, we do a lot of testing, and it's really it's the work we do to understand our customer, and the data that we have allows us to, what my CFO says, increase our batting average, right? We spend a lot of time looking at our data, but also talking to customers, and we do a lot of consumer research so that we know what's relevant to them. I remember as we went through the last election, Stuart Weitzman came out with a terrific, they have the 50/50 icon boot, they had a boot that had vote down the side of the boot, and it was a social media sensation. It maybe made a statement, regardless of who you were voting for. I think it made a statement. But it's knowing what's on consumers' minds and then reacting and bringing the creativity and the innovation and product that our creative talent has to bear in the market, and that's where we're seeing success.
So you've been the CEO now a few years. You've been maniacally focused on the consumer, moving at the speed of the consumer, picking up all the technological insights. Joanne, what has surprised you the most in terms of what you've seen from the consumer?
Oh, I think I call it the persistent resilience of the consumer. I think it's vexing a lot of central bankers.
The economic health.
Right? Yeah, economically, they can't believe that consumer is as resilient as the consumer has been. And I'm always amazed and surprised by the resilience of the consumer. But we also play in great categories: handbags, small leather goods, footwear. The consumer has an emotional connection to these categories. You and I know this, right? We have a lot of shoes and a lot of handbags. Yeah. But they have an emotional connection to the category. So in good times or in times that are more challenging, we see the consumer spending in this category. And I think we've seen that today. We see that in the United States. We're seeing a resilient consumer in China. And in Europe, the consumer has been incredibly resilient. So.
Is that because of your brand and the work you've done, or is it because consumer resilience in the economy overall?
I think a little of both. I think that brands have to work hard to stay relevant to the consumer. And I don't think we'd see the results we're seeing in our business without our spectacular teams. So I do want to mention we have great teams who are empowered to make these decisions and make this work. To stay relevant and ahead of the consumer. The consumer's moving fast, so there is work to be done, and you have to move at the speed of the consumer or you'll be left behind.
Joanne, thank you so much for the time. It's good to talk to you and hear some of your perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Sara.